today, we're going to be discussing an issue every cannabis operator must understand: how and why the IRS audits cannabis businesses. The topics we will cover today include why these IRS reports are critical for cannabis businesses. We'll examine the IRS Cannabis Compliance Initiative project, explore reasons why the IRS audits the cannabis industry, and finally, we'll discuss whether there is a foreseeable end to IRS audits of cannabis businesses, and lay out what cannabis business owners can do to respond to IRS scrutiny. The information contained in this presentation is meant for guidance purposes only, and not as professional legal or tax advice. Further, it does not give personalized legal, tax, investment, or any business advice in general. For decades, operators in the cannabis industry have felt that they are unfairly targeted by the IRS and other federal agencies. Recently, thanks to expert reporting from cannabis industry news outlet MJ Biz Daily, these sentiments have been proven true. The process began in 2020, when the IRS released a report providing details about the agency's large-scale audits of cannabis businesses. MJ Biz Daily followed that up with a Freedom of Information Act request that produced over 200 pages of internal documents. These newly released documents paint a detailed picture of the procedures IRS agents use to audit cannabis businesses in the U.S. They confirm that the IRS has specific programs targeting the cannabis industry and provide an insight into why cannabis businesses are being targeted. So ultimately, examining and understanding the content of these documents will help cannabis business owners better prepare for and protect themselves from the IRS in the event of an audit. One of the most impactful revelations from the IRS cannabis document release is confirmation and details of the IRS's large-scale cannabis audit program. Called Compliance Initiative Projects, or CIPs, the IRS made a formal decision to undertake at least 5 major multi-year audit programs targeting dozens of cannabis businesses. CIPs were first used by the IRS in California and Colorado over a decade ago. In 2013, they expanded into New Mexico, Arizona, and ultimately focused on cannabis operators in Detroit, Michigan. The IRS also confirmed that 2 of these CIPs are still ongoing. In emails with MJ Biz Daily reporters, the IRS denied prioritizing the cannabis industry, instead stating, "We audit taxpayers with a high risk of non-compliance from any industry. Our mission is to promote voluntary compliance, including compliance with IRC Section 280E. Promoting voluntary compliance is accomplished through enforcement actions, i.e. audits, outreach, and education." So while the IRS maintains that they are not specifically targeting cannabis, diving into the numbers suggests a clear motivation beyond compliance. The IRS maintains that CIPs are intended to educate and inform cannabis business owners on the importance of tax compliance and increase taxpayer awareness to help them stay in line with tax regulations in their industry. Unfortunately, for cannabis business owners, these documents tell us that transparency isn't the IRS's only motive. CIPs and enforcing 280E has created a massive profit center for the agency. So let's take a look at some of the numbers MJ Biz Daily's reporting has uncovered. Analysis of the documents provided by the IRS show that IRS audits of cannabis businesses generate up to 4 times more revenue than mainstream businesses. And not only that, but the IRS is getting better at auditing cannabis businesses, meaning revenue is going up. For example, 2012 audits in California produced $945 per hour versus $544 per hour from mainstream industries. Compare that to audits in Colorado in 2019 that produced $2,752 per hour from cannabis businesses and $1,065 per hour from mainstream businesses. The IRS has remained tight-lipped about exactly how much revenue cannabis audits have produced, but we do get some glimpses. For example, a 2016-2017 CIP in Colorado resulted in $43 million in unpaid taxes. Another factor to consider in the IRS's attention to cannabis industries is our extraordinary audit success rate. In the IRS documentation, there is a comment that upon review, only 3% of cannabis tax returns had no errors or adjustments. Compare that to 21% in other industries. The combination of these factors, high return and high success rate, create a clear incentive for the IRS to continue focusing on the cannabis industry. As of right now, there is no reason to expect the IRS to slow down or cease their focus on the cannabis industry. In fact, if anything, there have been indications that the IRS will ramp up cannabis audits. The biggest sign came last year when the Office of the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration issued a report titled, "The Growth of the Marijuana Industry Warrants Increased Tax Compliance Efforts and Additional Guidance." Subtle, right? This report found that there are likely hundreds of millions of dollars in unpaid taxes by the cannabis industry and suggests a national program for enforcing tax law within the cannabis industry. So now, while some may think that the new Biden administration will be cannabis friendly, there is currently no reason to be optimistic. In fact, just this February, Biden administration lawyers from the Department of Justice issued a filing confirming that the IRS can and should continue investigating cannabis businesses for violations of 280E. The best hope for relief from IRS scrutiny would be the passage of legislation that would deschedule cannabis and remove it from falling under 280E regulations. While this would certainly help, 280E isn't the only reason cannabis companies are found violating federal tax laws. Taxation of cannabis companies is extremely complicated at both the federal and the state and local levels. Considering the relatively early stages of the cannabis industry, many operators simply don't have the in-house sophistication to properly prepare and file taxes. As long as cannabis operators continue filing tax statements that the IRS finds lucrative errors in, they won't stop auditing cannabis businesses. As alluded to previously, the only real protection cannabis businesses have is to be prepared for IRS audits. What does that mean? First, it means filing error-free tax returns, which we have noted is easier said than done. Secondly, you need to prepare and maintain appropriate documentation. The IRS knocks on your door, even if your returns are perfect. If you cannot provide exact documentation of every aspect of your business, you're opening yourself up to risk. Thirdly, you must maintain that documentation for several years. The absolute minimum is 3 years, but recommended best practices is to maintain documents for 7 to 10 years, or really, however long your business has been running. Fourth, exhibit good faith in your filings and documentations. One of the few silver linings of 280E tax court rulings has been concessions for good faith efforts. The IRS knows the tax code is complex and mistakes do happen. In a number of circumstances, tax debts and penalties have been softened when the tax court feels the mistakes were not made as an attempt to deceive, but were honest mistakes. This is impossible to quantify, but it is a concept to have in the back of your mind. And finally, from our perspective, and most importantly, rely on the service, support, and expertise of dedicated cannabis accountants and business advisors. Regulations, tax laws, operations, everything in the cannabis industry is complex. And as the industry has grown, more CPA firms are opening their doors to cannabis companies. But this doesn't mean they have the institutional knowledge or level of expertise necessary to deliver value. A company like ours, GreenGrowth CPAs, is 100% focused on cannabis, and our experts know the ins and outs of every legal cannabis market. That insight is what our business is built on, and is proven invaluable in the unfortunate instant of a cannabis audit. And if you want to know more about audit preparation, cannabis taxes, or are ready to schedule a consultation, please visit us at greengrowthcpas.com. Call us today at 1-800-674-9050. Thank you so much for your time. We hope this information has been helpful. If you have any questions or want more information, please leave us a comment below. And be sure to like this video and give us a follow to learn more about the cannabis industry.